Let's just start this explainer by taking a deep breath. Because, there's this heavy, bone-deep exhaustion that so many of us carry around every single day. It's the sheer, relentless fatigue of constantly trying to fix ourselves. We're told from day one to prune our personalities into these perfect, socially acceptable shapes. But today, we're going to explore a really beautiful, deeply therapeutic truth. True inner peace? It isn't about better management. It's about gently tending to your inner garden.
I want you to just pause right here and really feel the weight of this question. We live under this massive societal illusion that we are projects to be managed, rather than, souls to be nurtured. We literally instrumentalize ourselves, constantly pushing for this mythical, better version. But what if this endless self-critique, this total refusal to accept our current state, is exactly what's disconnecting us from the vibrant pulse of life?
Notice the profound contrast here. It's the sterile, modern madness of self-control versus the organic, wild reality of radical self-acceptance. On one hand, we treat ourselves like a corporation, right? Managing our minds, optimizing our productivity, trying to completely eradicate our flaws. It's a guaranteed recipe for burnout. But on the other side, tending the soul. It means recognizing your wounds and simply allowing yourself to just be.
That brings us to Section 1, the wild nature of being. Let's look at how we can let our inner forest grow.
So here is the ultimate paradox of transformation. We tend to believe that rigid control and torturous discipline will somehow force us to grow. But the truth is actually the exact opposite. You only begin to truly live when you stop fighting your own nature. It's time to lay down your arms, grant yourself peace, and step entirely off the battlefield of the ego.
We often think of self-love as being narcissistic or vain. But let's look at the actual root of that word. The ancient narcissus is literally the flower of spring. Fun fact, narcissus bulbs can survive for years buried completely under the freezing snow, just waiting for the exact right moment to bloom. Blooming exactly as you are isn't some act of toxic ego. It is the vital, necessary arrival of your own personal spring. Think about that old fable of the frog who wanted to be as big as an ox. This perfectly captures the true tragedy of pride. Pride isn't loving yourself too much. It's the deep, exhausting pain of rejecting your own beautiful shape just to become something you're not. The frog puffs up until it literally bursts. True humility, and honestly true relief, is rooted in accepting the quiet, simple reality of just being a frog.
And this brings us to a really expansive definition of love. We often fear that love is a finite cake, Like if we give too much to ourselves, there won't be enough left for anyone else. But love isn't a cake, it's a deep wellspring. At its very core, love is simply recognizing it is good that you exist. When you water your own roots with that kind of radical acceptance, that well naturally overflows to everyone around you.
Moving into Section 2, meeting the shadows within. We're going to explore facing those deep inner fears.
We carry this incredibly heavy, completely false belief that if we look deep inside, we're going to find something fundamentally broken or monstrous. And because of this myth, we abandon our true selves. We silence our vibrant sensitivity, we hide our quirks, and we hack away at our wild branches just to fit into an artificial world. We sacrifice our very essence out of the sheer terror of rejection.
But here is where the therapeutic magic really happens. When you finally gather the courage to shine a lantern into your own dark soil, you realize there's absolutely no monster down there at all. The shadow only holds power when we look away. When we actually meet ourselves in the dark, all we find are wounded, tender parts of our soul, desperately waiting for our own compassion.
I absolutely love this poetic reframing of our deepest fears. The so-called dragons inside us, our anxieties, our fierce emotional reactions, our perceived flaws, they are not beasts to be slain. Not at all. They are simply vulnerable elements of our soul, dressed in terrifying armor, just waiting for us to approach them with beauty and courage.
This completely changes how we view our emotional landscapes. If you've ever felt like an ugly duckling because you feel things way too intensely, listen closely to this. Hypersensitivity isn't a glitch in your programming. It is a vivid, deep resonance with the breath and currents of the living world. Realizing that your intense feelings are simply your natural, vibrant weather, that is a profound moment of healing.
All of this builds into a beautiful, continuous return to our true nature. First, we have awareness, deeply understanding our roots. Second is acceptance, embracing our unpruned wild branches exactly as they are. And finally, responsibility, which means we stop blaming the external climate for our pain and we actually pick up the watering can to tend our own garden with deep, deep care.
Let's dive into our final section, trusting the deep river, where we learn to surrender to the water.
We so often mistakenly treat practices like mindfulness as tools to aggressively manage our thoughts, right? Striving for this exhausting illusion of control. We think, well, if we just micromanage ourselves enough, we'll finally be happy. But true spiritual grounding requires the exact opposite. It asks us to abandon that sterile control in favor of the absolute magic of full trust in life and, more importantly, in ourself.
Think about the simple act of swimming. If you consciously command every single movement of your arms and legs, overthinking every tiny muscle contraction in the water, you are going to sink. You literally cannot operate that way. To swim, you must breathe, let go of the micromanagement, and trust the deep currents to hold you. You have to trust your body's natural harmony.
We are on Earth to give ourselves the right to be exactly as we are. Man, we spend so much energy trying to earn our place on this Earth by constantly performing, changing, and adapting. But our true purpose is so much simpler and yet so much harder. It is granting ourselves unconditional permission to exist. With all our flaws and all our brilliance, we have the absolute right to be here, exactly as we are. When we don't accept ourselves, we spend our lives frantically scrubbing the mirror with toxic chemicals, desperately trying to change the reflection by controlling other people and our environment. But when you stop fighting the mirror and instead gently wipe the paint from your own face through radical self-acceptance, the world around you magically transforms. Your relationships heal not because you force them to, but because your inner soil is finally at peace. Ultimately, the journey of life is not some corporate ladder of self-improvement. It's a wild adventure of self-discovery. So, I want to invite you to step out of the sterile, exhausting management of your life and step into the lush, forgiving forest of radical self-acceptance. Will you finally lay down your arms and allow your wild soul to bloom?